So this is week 24, AP Psychology students. Don't forget next week is the spring break, so it's a really good time to start reviewing for your AP exam. Remember that on the, you can use the College Board for this. You could also start going back, like you can go back to any week anywhere. And remember, I've always put the multiple choice questions in there. So if you haven't been doing these, there's the extra quizzes from the textbook. There's lots of resources built into every week. So maybe you take this week as this spring break week, right? So we are, let me get where we are. We are here, and next week is the spring break. So you can use that as a way of start reviewing. All right, and then the rest of this week, we're going to jump into personality. And I'm going to kind of go back and forth here. So my joke is the toothpaste personality test, right? These are all of my children. Our toothpaste always looks like this: impulsive, life of the party, or maybe just immature and not thinking about other people. Right? Thrifty, prone to depression, stubborn or slow-witted, right? Squeezing it at the top, or this one's the funniest of this: antisocial, bad breath, right? They're not using the toothpaste. Obviously, as we go through this unit, we're going to see that there's some the trait theories tend to be very well researched personality theories. And then like this toothpaste here, these are the less researched, more based on just observations. And we're going to see that we have those a little bit too. So we're going to look at all of those. Just some reminders this week on the motivations project, right? When you're going to post your thing, there is scoring for this on there. And I want you to remember to tell me how many points you got and why. So don't forget to do that. So when you post to this My Motivations discussion forum, you're going to post your video. Remember, you can't try to share a large video file on Moodle. You need to save this to a cloud drive or YouTube channel or some sort of online, and make sure to share access, and then post your presentation and make sure to score it. All right, so that's that part. Moving on. I'm going to come back to this discussion, what is personality. I want to jump just a little bit first to a theory of emotion that I don't think I covered particularly well in the weekly lesson, so I want to make sure we talk about it. I think you'll find this is a pretty intuitive theory of emotion. It's called the broaden and build theory of emotion, right? And I'm going to kind of talk about it in two ways, but this is this kind of simple way to remember is when we experience positive emotions, right? That gives us like, when I feel good, I want to do something, right? And when I do something, I feel better, and I go out and I try to maybe get more resources, or I do something to continue to build those skills. And then I often inspire other people, right? Transform other people to also do those things. And so then that gives me more energy and I build more resources. And this is a really upward spiral. So, we kind of talk about this in positive psychology is a way of, just improving ourselves by the first experience of positive emotions, right? And this is really interesting because when you look at people, there's differences in how people, like how a small thing might build positive emotions, like what you perceive and look at. So my middle daughter and my youngest daughter can be in the same situation, both have a positive event and a negative event, and the youngest one will smile and see the positive one, which will make her feel better, start to do more things, just like this shows. And my middle child will see the negative, and then she'll feel bad, and none of the rest of this theory happens, right? Because she experiences a negative emotion when she could have experienced a positive emotion. So it's why it's so important to ask yourself, how do you look at the world, right? Do you have those rose-colored glasses on and you're in the situation and you see something positively, or are you looking at things more negatively, and then it stops this positive spiral? All right, so that was one, this broaden and build theory of emotion. Maybe you put the guy's name there and so forth. The other thing that we didn't talk about so much, but we had a little bit, but I just want to, we definitely have different emotional display rules. So even though kind of the range of human emotions is very consistent across cultures, how we express them is way different. I've lived all over the world, and you can clearly see this, right? Americans tend to smile almost everywhere. It's a cultural norm to not show your negative emotion when you're out in public. And in other places, it's the exact opposite. Like smiling in a grocery store in the middle of winter in Lithuania is looked at as like something is wrong with you. It's not done. Smiling on the street and showing positive things to other people, it just doesn't happen, right? So the display, how we display our emotions is really culturally dependent. And then even within different cultures, there's rules about what you do at work, what you do at home. Like how many of you know at school that you're not going to display any negative emotions, because in public we tend to not display negative emotions. Positive ones are acceptable and negative ones tend to be something we do at home. So how many of you kind of hold it together all day long and then find when you get home you kind of just, your negative emotions seem like they just explode out of you, right? I see this with myself and with my children. So know that we do have, both cultural display rules of within our culture what's acceptable, but then even within a culture there's kind of location, or they call these organizational display rules, where emotions ought to be displayed and where they're not. All right, so just a couple things I didn't think I taught very well. And now as we move on to personality, there's a discussion forum for this week on what is personality. All right, just to get you thinking about it. So before you really start, take a time. You can pause this video right now and make a posting. How do you define personality? How do you think we can measure personality? Do you think that personality is fixed or does it change? If you believe personality is fixed, at what age is your personality generally set? How does an environment and culture contribute to our personality? All right, so make a posting. And then when you're done with this video, I really enjoy this video. Who Are You Really? The Puzzle of Personality is a good way of getting this started. And then there's not also an optional video. You don't have to watch it, but if you're interested, you can. It's a university lecture on the introduction to personality. Up to you whether you watch it, but do make a follow-up posting. So you need to make 2 postings to finish this discussion. And then the rest of the week is focused on personality. You're going to look at focusing on Freud. And one of Freud's big things that he would ask you to look at in terms of personality is how you use defense mechanisms. So there's an activity here on defense mechanisms to practice it. Remember, the people who came after Freud are often called neo-Freudians. You're going to meet and look at Jung, who's one of my favorite psychologists, and his discussion on our shadow personality, right? The parts of ourselves that we dislike and how we tend to project those onto other people. So you can often tell, if you're unaware of the parts of yourself that you dislike, when you meet somebody and you find that you really dislike something about them. Jung would say those are the parts of yourself that you dislike, and that shadow person can help you understand yourself better. So interesting theories. Humanistic theories, we're going to look at how we tend to want to, our personality is built kind of on what parts of our environment are meeting our needs and what are not. And when all of our basic needs are met, then we can look at kind of working on ourselves. And that gets you to this, are you self-actualized, right? When we're working on ourselves, we're working towards self-actualization, and you can see how that is defined. And last for this week is the cognitive social theories of personality. And this would be bringing in how our environment and the people around us impact who we are and how we act. So that brings us to the end of week 24 and the start of spring break. So you are doing the personality discussion. I have in here for you kind of the overall idea. So this week we're getting through Freud, Neo-Freudian, humanistic, and social cognitive. And next week we're going to look at the big 5: trait theory and personality tests. So the week you come back from break, we'll finish up personality. And to finish for today, I posted an emotion quiz on the College Board just to have you as a good review for emotions. So what are you putting in the week 24 video assignment? You are putting any notes you took, not so much, I know, and you're putting your score on the emotions quiz, and then you're finishing up the what is personality, and hopefully you're ready to post your project from last week because you were working on that. All right, if you get stuck on anything, let me know. I'm here to help you. Have a great week.